Our gospel reading this morning. Our gospel reading comes from the gospel according to John, chapter 1, verses 43 through 51. John 1, 43 through 51. Let us hear the word of the Lord. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee, and finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." "Nazareth? Can anything good come from there?" Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." "How do you know me?" Nathanael asked. Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree, before Philip called you." Then Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." And Jesus said, "You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that." He then added, "Very truly, I tell you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. The day after Christmas every year, my parents would pack up my two sisters and brother and me, and we would go to my aunt and uncle's house on Cape Cod and stay for a Christmas visit with some of our extended family. My aunt and uncle had a lovely contemporary home situated on a salt marsh where occasionally a great blue heron would fly by and everyone would get excited. The large living room where everyone gathered and socialized had a stone fireplace with a great hearth and a high cathedral ceiling above. On one side of the room, opposite the fireplace, across from the stone chimney, which went all the way up to the peak of this high ceiling, was a little balcony space with a railing. I remember there being a harpsichord up there, though I don't know how they could have gotten it there. I suppose they must have hoisted it up from the living room below. It was a very small space, and the only easy access was via a tiny door off the upstairs bedroom. I mean, a really small door, which only a small child could comfortably walk through. And I remember it being like, it was like a 6-panel door. I remember it was like a miniature version of all the other doors in the house. As a child, it seemed to be made just for me. From the balcony, you could see the familiar living room with a very different vantage point. From above, you could see the whole large room and the people in it all at once. You could even look down upon their incredibly tall Christmas tree that they set up every year. I think I got to sleep up there in the balcony during one visit. It would have been a year when my father's other sister and her family were there too, with my brother and 2 sisters and our older cousins and all our parents in all the house at the same time. You can imagine beds were at a premium. But a sleeping bag on that balcony would have suited me just fine. From down below, it was a dark balcony, and my bedtime always came before the others, of course, so I was the youngest. So I would be up there, laying on the floor, out of sight. Up there you could hear the conversations below, sometimes boring, often amusing. Occasionally you'd detect a sharp exchange. The folks down below would be unaware or forget, or at least be unconcerned that they were not alone, that there was someone else present, unseen but present. nonetheless. Anyway, the point is, you could take in much more from up in that balcony than you could down below. And it was a place really suitable only for a child. After meeting Jesus, Philip went and found his friend Nathanael and told him that he'd found the one they'd all been waiting for. He told his friend, "Come and see." And meeting Jesus himself, Nathanael quickly understood his friend's excitement. The exchange of this meeting in John's Gospel is so briefly recorded, it seems like there may be more to know about Nathanael or his time under that fig tree. But anyway, you get the gist that somehow Jesus knew Nathanael's heart and mind and was able to see him somehow, even at a time when he thought he was alone. Nathanael was amazed with Jesus and immediately believed he was the chosen one sent from God. "Rabbi," he said, "teacher, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The Bible begins with the account of creation, of the heavens and of the earth. In one respect, this pairing of Hebrew words, the heavens and the earth, is meant to convey the full range of all that there is, everything. In the beginning, God created everything. But the phrase also carries more specific meaning as well. The heavens is understood as the place from which God reigns, and the dimension of creation in which God's presence and rule are not hidden and are openly manifest. The heavens also covers the whole entire unseen spiritual realm. And the earth, the heavens and the earth is the visible, physical, or material realm we all know too well, the human realm. So the Bible begins not merely with dimensions, if you will, but with dominions. Heaven has a king, and the earth has been entrusted to human beings. And from Genesis onward, the great question becomes, whose will is going to be done? I think that's a wonderful summary question. I didn't make that up. Can't take credit for that one. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But the realm experienced by our five senses is the world that the vast majority of people call home, right? And this is even the case, truth be told, for most of us too. Most of us live on the earth at least 6 days a week, for the most part, and maybe visit heaven for one or part of one, maybe. I think most of us are sincere in that visitation. But more often than not, how we think from moment to moment, our thought habits, the decisions we make, how we live, is determined most by far by what we can see with our eyes, taste with our tongues, smell with our noses, hear with our ears, and touch with our fingers. The earth. It's the primary, obvious, and most powerfully persuasive presentation of reality for all of us. Our bodies are always with us. When we're hungry, we know it. When we are in pain, we feel it, and we think, I am in pain. And when the body of someone whom you've loved, with whom you've gone to bed with and woken up with for years is gone, and we're viscerally, painfully aware of absence. We identify ourselves and one another with our bodies. And I'm not stating anything very insightful here. It's appropriate, isn't it? It's God's design that we are embodied souls. So maybe the earth taking the lead for us is sensible enough. Makes a lot of sense. Those 5 senses. But Scripture tells us of people who learned that there is more to reality than just the physical universe. There are stories from the Old Testament of moments when the veil was lifted between the worlds of the heavens and the earth. In 2 Kings chapter 6, the prophet Elisha and his servant awoke one morning to find the city they were in surrounded by a hostile army. Terrified, the servant cried to the prophet. He said, "What shall we do?" But Elisha remained calm. And he said, "Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And then he prayed, "Lord, open his eyes so that he may see." And in that moment, the servant's eyes were opened, and he saw the hills ablaze with horses and chariots of fire, the armies of the Lord surrounding and protecting them. See, the heavenly reality had been there all along. Only this guy's ability to perceive it had changed. And I wonder if there's any reason to think that reality now is any different. I wonder if a similar opportunity to see and perceive may be available even to us. There was this story from the Old Testament, from Genesis, from the life of the patriarch Jacob, when in obedience to his father Isaac and his mother Rebekah, Jacob set out to the land of his people in the hope of finding the blessing of a wife. Picking up from verse 11 in Genesis 28, we read, "When Jacob reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set, and taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and laid down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. There above it stood the Lord, Adonai, Jehovah, or Yahweh. And he said, I am Yahweh, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. And when Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place. And I was not aware of it. He was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. Yeah, the original stairway to heaven. A stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. The place where the heavens and the earth could be seen as overlapping, where the two realms could be seen to exist at once together. Many of us think about heaven only as the place where people hope to go someday when they die. And many of us think Christianity is just about believing the right things, so when you do die, you go to heaven. And heaven is usually thought of as some faraway place. But this is actually somewhat of a caricature of the true reality. The ancient understanding of heaven, the one we can find witnessed in the Scriptures, was not some distant or far-off place. And it was not a realm made for just later. But rather, it is as close as breath and always present. And here's the shocking thing about the encounter between Nathanael and Jesus. Jacob's ladder, so it's called, the stairway to heaven, was for him a dream. It was a vision. But Jesus is telling Nathanael here that the dream is come true and is standing right in front of him. Jesus said to Nathanael, "You will see greater things. Very truly, I tell you, you will see heaven open up and the angels of God ascending and descending on not a ladder or a stairway, but the Son of Man." See, Jesus is heaven's gate, the place where the heavens and the earth meet. There's much, much more to the whole picture. And Jesus saw it as clear as day. And you know what? He wants us to learn from him. To learn how to see reality as he does. Left to ourselves, we are by nature short-sighted. But we're not meant to be. God has made me, your pastor for this time. And if you only knew what he did. I must confess it is not yet my habit to see in this way I'm commending to you this morning, the way that Jesus says should become the way his students see. Not that we're meant necessarily to see visually the otherwise invisible realm of reality all the time, but we are to so believe that these things are real, that God is present and true and good and ready and willing to participate in our lives, that those realities are as real, even more so than what we can see right in front of us. Believing. There's the rub. It's said you can tell what a person truly believes by the way they treat other people and the choices they make. And it's a scandal that there is often little difference to be found in this regard between people who identify themselves as Christians and those who do not. It's one thing, you see, to believe things about God, but it's an entirely other thing to actually believe God. I'm going to say that again. It's one thing to believe things about God, but it's another thing to actually believe God. To take God at his word and order our lives accordingly. To act on belief, which is the demonstration of trust. The word that the scriptures use for this kind of believing is a familiar word: faith. We find our definition of this word, faith, in the New Testament letter of Hebrews. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things unseen. Not seen. But we can't seem to make ourselves believe a thing, can we? And it's not quite a you do or you don't kind of thing either, thankfully. But it begins with trust. Remember the man who came to Jesus in the hope of helping his son, who was in the grip of the darkness of the spiritual realm. He came to Jesus with an iffy faith. If you can do anything, he pleaded with Jesus, take pity on us. Help us. If you can, said Jesus. Everything is possible for one who believes. And immediately the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe, I believe. Help me with my unbelief. Indeed, Lord, help us with our unbelief. Gets to the heart of who and what we trust most. How we make our choices, to what extent we believe truly in the goodness of God, His will for us, and His power and presence to act. So we have these ideas set before us this morning. Ideas of dimensions of reality, the dimension of the heavens, dimension of the earth. And then we have this notion of dominion, dimensions and dominion. You could define a dominion, and I'm borrowing from one of my favorite Christian authors here, Dallas Willard. You could define a dominion as the range of one's effective will. That's kind of a technical description. Put it another way, the area over which someone's will or intention or desire is carried out, where what they desire to happen is actually done, effective. This is Dallas Willard's definition of a kingdom. And we little people have our own spheres of influence too, our own areas of dominion, our own kingdoms. For some, it may be more extensive than others, but every person has a little dominion, a little kingdom. In terms of the kingdom of God, it can be thought of as the range of God's effective will. The extent in which what God desires, what God wills, is actually done. And so Jesus taught us to pray, God's will be done. God's kingdom come on earth as it is in the heavens. Dimensions and dominions. Remember how after Thomas's doubts were blown away, when the risen Lord finally appeared before him and said, here, Thomas, put your fingers in my hands and my side. Go ahead. Stop doubting and believe. Thomas fell to his knees and said, my Lord and my God. And then Jesus told him, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Because they are the ones, friends, who are learning to see with the sixth sense of faith. And he said, truly I tell you, elsewhere at another time, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. That little balcony in my aunt's house had only a small door, just big enough for a child to pass through. Maybe when Jesus speaks of the kingdom of heaven belonging to such as these, belonging to such like children, it's not about childishness, certainly not naivete, but about seeing reality from a different vantage point of trust through the eyes of faith. Maybe Jesus' words were not just for Nathanael that day, but were his desire for you. For you and me. You will see greater things. Very truly. You will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Come with me. With him. And let's together learn to see. Amen.